We are here to discuss Doja Cat's album V that is out now on all platforms. Honestly, y'all, I don't have all that much to say about it, but I'm still going to say a couple of things. This will not be a track by track analysis, but I will point out to you standout tracks from me. So while you're listening to this, I want you to be vigorously typing in the comments and let me know on a scale of 1 to 5, how are you rating this album? 1 being trash, 5 being the best. Let me know your favorite tracks and overall, what do you think about what this means for Doja's career? So I understand why artists tell us to listen to music with headphones now because my first listen, I was getting other things done while just listening on the phone with no headphones in. And I still found the songs that I liked, but I always miss some things. And so I wasn't so exhausted after listening to the album. So immediately I did a second listen and this time I put my headphones in. And I'm glad I did that because the second listen really helped me come out with a more positive review of the album because had I not done that, I would have been like, yo, like this was okay, like this was basic. I don't know if this was worth everything that led up to it and stuff like that. And while I still feel like that, because I just feel like with this album, yes, it was a lot of promotion. Her rollout wasn't as aggressive as Cardi's was, but at the same time, with promoting such a return to pop and this 80s aesthetic and the bubblegum pop sound, which is the most palatable to all audiences, I just expected an album that was a bit more hit heavy, full of hits, potential hits, and things that were going to get me up and moving. And she definitely had her fair share of up tempo production, which I'm always going to appreciate. And even the slower tempered songs, they weren't bad. I don't know. I don't think that there's any a bad song on the album. It's just a lot of things that I would never return to. In all, I would probably never return to this album other than Jealous Type. That is the best song on this album. And you would think so because it was the lead single of the album. So, yeah, let's get right into my analysis. So some standout songs were Jealous Type, Couples Therapy. Although it felt like boring and a background music, that's honestly what I would call this album. It's an album full of background music, things that I wouldn't miss. But like while I was getting things done, it was helping me to be productive. But I don't really think that that's a good thing because I wasn't necessarily paying attention. And the music, it wasn't grabbing me or pulling me in, especially until I got my headphones. Anyway, Gorgeous is one of the better songs on the album. Of course, it is the focus track going into this release week. She's released a music video to it. I haven't seen it yet. And the first time I listened to Gorgeous, I was about to ignore it because of the very beginning of the production. But then I realized it was Gorgeous when she started singing on it. And I was like, okay, let me really pay attention because, I do kind of like this song. On my second listen, I was like, okay, this has good replay value for fans, for real Doja Cat fans. But me personally, I don't really feel like there's a reason for me to go back to the song. All Mine. Actually, in my first listen, I wasn't really feeling it, which is why you don't see it in the bold. Everything that I was really feeling is in bold text. So I said in the first listen, I was like, yeah, this is too old school for me. At this point, I want to be done listening to this album, and I'm not even halfway through yet. Her vocal performance, though, is really embody the 80s. And it begged me to ask, is Doja really in love with the 80s aesthetic? Like, does that really embody like her personality or her artistry? Or does she just find this aesthetic palatable to bigger audiences in order to, I don't know, just get more attention and be more commercially successful? That's what that song made me think on my first listen. But on a positive note, for All Mine, it was the first song where the rap verse felt like it wasn't forced. And from the feedback that I'm seeing on social media, it feels like a lot of people agree that Doja Cat's great. She makes great songs, but she ruins her own songs with her rap verses. So that's something that I also need you guys' feedback on. What do you think about that? So on the second listen, I said like it's okay. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Is it one of my favorite tracks? Probably not really, but like it wasn't bad. Now Take Me Dancing with SZA. On the first listen, I was like, I heard SZA a little bit, but then I missed her verse, probably because I got focused on what I was doing. But overall, the production felt more upbeat, fun, and vibrant, which is really good for me personally. On the second listen, I was a little bit disappointed because SZA's verse was a bit short. I enjoyed a verse, and especially her voice on this track. And it felt like SZA did what need to be done, and she gave her R&B feel, but it wasn't so slow, boring, and dreary. It was like literally what needed to be done. And at the time of recording this, I saw that I think Doja Cat was on live crying and reacting to what SZA did on the track. So that's dope. And I think that SZA was also at her listening party. So once again, that's dope. They've had great collaborations, great hits, won Grammys together. So full circle moment there. But it also begged me to ask, why isn't SZA on Cardi's album? Remember, Cardi made it public, like, "Oh, I'm asking SZA for a verse." SZA was like, "Oh, I let me send in my verse." Child never sent in that verse, but she sent that Doja Cat verse in. And not only did she send the verse in, but she popped out for Doja outside for the album release. Okay, she is here for Doja. I'm not sure what it is for Cardi. Now, of course, on Cardi's album, she was there on the ending of the intro track Dead, which I did like SZA's vocals on, but it wasn't an actual verse. It didn't feel like a feature, and she wasn't credited as a feature. Now let's move on to another track, Lip Stain number 9. Once again, I feel like it was background music, but the production got me on the second listen. I did love Doja rapping in French. I like it a lot, and I loved her tone. You tell me, because this was the first time that I really noticed Doja was rapping in French. So tell me on what other songs she was rapping in French in. I said the producers did their thing on this one. The rap verse came in smooth. One of the standout lines to me was, "You ain't got amnesia, you just never got recalled." Now, people are going with a line that she allegedly may have dissed Nicki on, because she said, like, "Everyone's a queen, but I'm the boss," or something. I don't know. Me personally, when I give albums a listen the first time, I'm not necessarily looking at the bulk of their lyricism. What I'm looking at is, how does the sound make me feel? Is this something bright and vibrant that I would return to, or do I not like the sound? I'm more looking at the production on the album, and literally the sound of the production and the sound of the artist's voice. So I'm saying that to say that I may have missed some things, in terms of like the context of this. Is that really a Nicki diss, or was she just saying that? So I'm just letting you guys know. Now for Silly Fun, I'm inclined to not take that song seriously because of the name Silly Fun. Like I don't know. I'm a very serious person when it comes to music and whatever, but it's not bad, but I wouldn't return to it. Now let's move on to Acts of Service. I actually really like this song, one of the better songs on the album. Good production, but her flow on the second verse reminded me of Young Thug. Let me know if you caught that. The next one, Make It Up, I said I'm glad that this song wasn't previewed, because it's a gem that you had to find on the album. Obviously, to me, one of the better songs. I love the production. And I guess I don't know if it was previewed, because Doja would be leaking her music on social media or whatever, but I didn't hear that one. So yeah. Track 13, One More Time, up tempo, but I didn't care for it. Happy was more mid tempo, and it's soft, but it's still background music for me. The closing track, number 15, which is Come Back, I said the production is really good for the ending track. It feels like the ending of a movie and riding off into the sunset. So I want to say, because I missed some of the beginning, but Amen, because I said I wasn't gonna do a full track by track analysis, but I basically still did it. But Amen, that song really reminded me of Michael Jackson. It sounded very organized. Yeah, I don't know if I like this song, to be honest with you, but it did give heavy Michael Jackson. Cards. I said, glad I didn't use headphones. This was the first time I listened to it, because the production would have annoyed me. And I think the rapping threw me off on this song, because it's like it feels like Doja just be rapping just to rap, just to be considered a female rapper. And that's the main problem that I need to figure out with Doja. Is Doja rapping because she loves to rap, or is Doja rapping because she wants to keep the title of female rapper? That is what I need to figure out. But all in all, to me, Doja Cat's artistry, and this is not even in particular to this album, I think it goes for Doja's previous album, Scarlet. Doja's artistry raises more questions than understanding. Rather than coming from an album and understanding that artist and where they are in their mindset and their world, I always come out with more questions, which is what I just said about, is she rapping just to rap, or because she really loves it? This album, V, right? I guess it means life. And yeah, it was mostly about love, but I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm not really here for, I don't know. It's not it for me. I don't know. I just thought it was going to be way better. I think, once again, most of the album is background music, and it's really not something that I would return to. To put this album into context, We just came off of a Cardi B release week, and I must say, I know Imma get killed for this because people can't fathom that, like, people will have positive reactions to Cardi's music or think that Cardi's music is good or even think that Cardi's music is or a Cardi album is better than someone else's album. So, yeah, I think that Cardi's album is better than Doja's album. It makes me feel like, "Oh my god, I'm really inclined to the music," especially the more up-tempo songs. I feel like Cardi's album is a bit more lively and the beats are just more hard hitting. Once again, they shouldn't even really be compared because Cardi is more hip hop, Doja Cat is more pop and stuff like that. But because once again, Doja wants to be in the female rap category, and being that these albums came just a week after each other, that's the last album that I listened to before this. And I simply just like Cardi's album better, okay? There's way more songs that I would go back to, that I would return to, that I have been returning to, that I've been listening to within the first week. And even longevity wise, I would see myself going back to Cardi B songs in months or a year from now before I go back to Doja songs. Off the top of my head, the only Doja song I would return to is like Jealous Type. Yeah, there were other good songs on the album, like I showed you, but I don't really care much, to be honest with you. So y'all let me know, is this Doja's fourth or fifth album? What does this mean for her career? What does this mean for her place in female rap? Of course, there is a lot of things that will come after this. I'll try my best to track her numbers, especially during her first week. And we'll definitely talk about her first week sales just like we did with Cardi. Okay. But I'll also be tracking her streams and her first day sales. I really want to see how other people are reacting to this album and how it is living up to the hype that it was promoted with. If you're not on my Patreon, we literally just did a video of Cardi's last desperate attempts and all of the versions that she released on her last day of her tracking week to boost her sales. All right. So at this point of me recording, her sales is not out yet. So make sure to come on Patreon, because if you're not on my Patreon, you're missing content, you're missing videos. If you want me to upload more often, know that if I'm not on YouTube, I'm definitely on Patreon. Okay. If you're like, where's Destiny at? I probably dropped something on Patreon. All right. So I'll see some of you there, and shout out to you that if you're already there. I love y'all, with all my heart. So please answer all of my questions that I asked you about Doja's album, and I'll see you in the next video. Please like this one. Peace.
Somebody say fuck. It's your girl Vina Love, the Harlem Princess, your favorite princess, and this is Destiny V. Period.